Willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome to Tidy Tuesday on Friday with Light. Trying something a little different this time around. And yeah, it involves taking some data, this time about lemurs, and trying to wrangle it, make it say something. Particularly in R. Hey there, Zanman. How's it going? This is the first time I've done something with R on the stream, and so I don't know exactly how it's going to go. I'm going to have to potentially fiddle around with the layout a little bit, see how everything lines up with everything. We might need to shrink some things a bit. We might need to push things around. We'll see how it goes. YouTube was surprisingly fast on the loading this time around. Previous times it had been quite a bit slower. So, step one, we need to make a space. So, make folder for the year. In there, make it for the current data set. Let's see. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Times 4 is 28. Plus a handful, put us at 33, 4, 5. I think we're on week 35. We might need to rename that. But let's get it started. So we're going to make ourselves a notebook. Because I like notebooks. You do text and make it look really nice. So we can just be like, Tidy Tuesday, week 35, question mark, lemurs. Yeah, it was 60-40, and then I got some donuts, and so now everything's better. I don't appreciate that the window capture changes the color of this text cursor to black instead of the white that it is on my screen. That's going to be a bit problematic for everybody, but we'll do what we can. So these 3 dashes, much like in Discord, indicate that we're going to be working with code. And so we can just be like, print, hello. All right, it's a string. Hello, world. And it'll do a thing. And then if we were to then knit it, oh, now it goes into a place. All right, we need to save it first, such that it knows where we're going. In there. I don't think there's a standard, so I'm going to do index.rmd. And so, like, over the edges, it's nice and white, but then when it's underneath... Oh, you can... Oh, you see it as blinking because I see it just straight up black in the preview. Yeah, like the mouse cursor is a black version of the normal text selector thingy. So yeah, we knit to HTML. And then it pops up and shows you what's going on. And so I forgot that the title gets real big and then the sections get medium-sized. And so we take our big title and make it the big title. And what the heck, we'll put this up in the big title too, and then we'll save this for what we're actually going to be doing. Yeah, near invisible cursor, which I wish I could do something about it, but I can't. So, we need to load the data. If we look into our Tidy Tuesday R package, there is a Tidy Tuesday load function. And so we can just be like, Tidy Tuesday R. What we're going to do is tt load. What are we going to load? Oh, so we can either do it by the full year, month, day if we knew what day, what number of day Tuesday was, or we can just do year by a year week. So 2021, and then week, I'm guessing 35. And the nice thing about notebooks is you can run the code without knitting it and see what happens. Hey, lemur data. We were right. 29,130 parsing failures. Well, that doesn't fill me with confidence. Okay, so there's a thing that I learned about recently. Called skimmer. And hopefully I can remember which is the type of skim I want. Oh, so it might just be skimmer. Or it might just be skim. Yeah, might just be skim. Blah, blah. Cannot coerce class TT data to a data frame. Well, we definitely want a data frame. So we go back to our Tidy Tuesday and figure out how we're supposed to actually get that into a data frame. It's the GH. Pulls those other things. So most likely it's got some things inside of it. Yeah, Mac, I don't anticipate this being a super long stream. Oh, okay, so each separate file gets loaded as part of the object. Okay. Oops. Let me double check that it names it that way. Yeah. So there's lemur data. Yeah, since it hasn't actually loaded the data yet, it doesn't know anything about it. But there we go. Load. So now, much better. Now, this doesn't look great in here. But when we knit it, it'll probably look pretty good. Oh, we might need to... might need to push it into knitter to get it to look nice. We'll see whether it knits it on its own well. I mean, that knits pretty darn well all on its own. But we're supposed to be learning how to be tidy here, and this is not the tidy way to do it. So let's rewrite that to be tidy. So let's do quick search. What does it mean for our data to be tidy? Okay, so this is a very long type of data because you've got Billy and his first quiz that he didn't even take. His second quiz was a D, his first test was a C. So instead of having one row for Billy and a bunch of columns for each of the quizzes, you've got columns for his name, the assessment, and then the grade. Long, long, long. The reason this is potentially better is because then you never have to update Billy's row. You just add more rows as you take more observations. Seems reasonable. Okay, so every cell is a single value, every row is an observation, every column is a variable. That applies to every observation. So there are times where column headers are values, not variables. For example, they split it across things that they measured, and now these are counts of agnostics in that range. So you would need to melt this such that you have a column that would represent these, a column that would represent each of the existing columns, and you make this 3 columns, religion, value, and count, and then you have a whole bunch of rows. And then this right here, those percent signs and the greater than, is piping from the religious income into pivot longer. So they pivot this table on this value to do the thing I just described. Thought that was called melting, but I could be wrong. And so it pipes the data into the function, and so we should probably try to do that with the skim. It might not be necessary, but it's a nice practice to get into. That's interesting. More than one value in a column separates it out. And so the whole point of making sure your data is like this is such that you don't have to worry about which format any given function wants. So when you pass it into distinct, it gives you back something that is also tidy, such that you can pipe it into mutate. And however many times you need to pipe it along, it always comes back in a nice, tidy format that you can pass into the next thing. So theoretically, we should be able to do instead lemurs into skimmer. Oh no, it couldn't find that thing because we didn't load the library that would let us do that sort of thing. Full tidyverse or just dplyr? I know some people say dplyr. Gotta say it quick. I think that's enough. Brilliant. So anyone who's watched my Isaac videos might be familiar with this, where it's the difference between using the colon and using the dot. This acts like the colon, where we take the thing and pass itself as the first argument. And so any function that takes data as its first argument, you can pipe into. Lovely. And I'm not the only one that says pipe. Because if I had left lemurs there, it knows the name of the variable. But if we pipe it, it's piped. Brilliant. So now we should take a look at the data and see what's interesting. So 80,000 rows. I'm on 54 variables. Several interesting types. Sounds like something frustrating happened in the other room. Taxonomy, probably telling us what type of lemur. Their ID number, looks like. So there are 80,000 observations of 2,270 unique lemurs. Hybrid sex name. Okay, so it appears that we have fewer names than we have ID numbers. So either there are lemurs that share a name, or there are lemurs that are unnamed. Let's look at that. Whether or not they're current resident. Stud book, we don't know. Estimated date of birth. So if it has to be estimated, most likely they weren't all in captivity to begin with. Birth type, we'll have to investigate what those 3 types are. Dam and sire. Sire is typically the dad, so this dame is probably the mom. The numbers are relatively low on that, so you need to have them in captivity to know who their parents are. And yeah, it looks like it's hard to tell because we've got 80,000 records, but only 1,000 of them are missing parents. But a lot of them are missing their name. I don't know how those numbers are being calculated. Wait, what's the difference between estimated date of birth and date of birth estimated? They've got the same missingness. They've got the same almost everything. Why do you have it twice? Come on, Jesse. Age category, so most likely they broke it down into a couple of levels instead of having to deal with dates. And then pregnancy status. Glad there's only 2 levels on that one. And now we've got date of birth, as opposed to the 2 estimated dates of birth. This one is not missing very many. Weird. Estimated conception, date of birth of parents, date of death, poor dead lemurs. Weight date, conception date if pregnant, infant date of birth if pregnant. Okay. Age of living Y. Lots are missing. All of them are missing. Why is this even here? Okay, and now we've got a lot of numeric things. So these first ones were characters. So these are all strings. They're all text. Estimated date of birth as a text is unfortunate, but understandable. Okay, so numeric things are generally easier to work with, easier to plot. And so, birth month follows an interestingly non-uniform pattern. Litter size, a lot of them are missing. Expected gestation, none of them are missing. Interesting. Conception month, their parents' age at conception. Age of death, age last verified, age max live or dead. Number of known offspring. Yeah, I'd expect that one to be skewed in that direction. Wait! That's quite the range. 10 kilos? Like, 26-pound lemur? That's a big lemur. Yeah, I certainly hope it's in grams. If that's in anything else, we're gonna have a bad time. Month of the weight, age at in days, age in weeks, age in months. Age in month, no decimals, I would imagine. And I would want this last one to be in years, but you can generally divide, like you should be able to divide to get each of these different quantiles. And so 28,000 divided by 7 gives you about 400. Divided by about 4 gives you about 100. Divide this by 12. That's not quite right. Oh wait, that's the standard deviation. Let's go for the median. 23 divided by 7, roughly 3-ish, sure. Divided by... I don't know. Some of these numbers don't seem to be adding up to me. Because you should be able to take the median and divide it down and get the numbers. Change since previous way. Okay. Deltas are nice. Wow. That's a lot of weight loss. Days since previous weight. Average daily weight change. Days before death. Okay, so the most complete measurements do appear to be the weight. It looks like this is done... like, this is them weighing them, and then everything else is incidental. How many... so there are 27 different types of lemurs. And so we should probably investigate what those are. The trouble is that this is going to be... right. You need to get into the habit of doing it this way. Just for the habit. So these are shortened versions. And so I want to get the actual text. Let's take a look at taxonomy. Because this, yeah, so it's got the taxon key to translate from what's in there to what we can actually read. So what we need is to join, and I think R calls it merge. Typically, you want to tell it what to merge on. I tend to use SQL terminology. You join on in R, you merge by. I don't remember what it's called in pandas. But given this is supposed to align fairly perfectly with pandas, I imagine pandas also does merge by. But the thing is, you can probably just do lemurs. Doing... I don't know how you do a double pipe. Like how... oh, right. So it's lemurs into merge taxonomy. So we're going to merge taxonomy onto it. Don't know how to do left joins. Are any of them missing a taxonomy? No. None of them are missing. Good job. This should just work. Mephistopheles! And so we have to go all the way to the end to get to the common name. And so we find out that Mephistopheles is an ii. So that totally worked. So we're just gonna have our data frame be lemurs into merge taxonomy. So the way this merge works is it just looks for any columns that it has in common and uses that as the key. There's only one column in common, hence it uses that as the key. And so then here, we're going to use df and skim the df. And then here, we want to know unique. Okay, so typically, if you're going to use the piping, you want to pipe all the way. I don't know if this will work. And it totally does. And so you chain it along. There are multiple ways of doing most things. What I was tempted to do was to do the vanilla R version, where you would have instead done this. I didn't get the counts. All I did was get the unique types of common names. And so, oh, forgot to put the pipe back in. So these are just the names. And so that number on the left is most likely the row in which the first one happened. And so most likely there's 5,077 observations of IIs. And so that's the thing we probably want to know, is how many of these things are there? And so what we're going to do is we're going to group by common name and their actual name. What is their actual name called? Is it just called name? It's just called name. So we should be able to group by both common name and name. And then count. Well, that's not the count I need. Well, it's supposed to work. Okay, so let's just group it by common name. Oh, interesting. Yep, definitely need to get used to this. Okay, so I want to do... Like, I want to make it unique by name. I'm not sure it does that. Distinct would work if we pulled just the name and the common name. So if we select common name and name, perhaps we do these symbolically like that. Nope. Oh, wait. We need more pipes. Okay, so we select that, then we would do distinct. So let's X that out, just make sure we're doing what we meant to, and we are. So now we've got Mephistopheles, Nosferatu, Salem, Morticia, Cruella, Ozma. Nice villainous ice. And then we group it by the common name to find out how many distinct types of each lemur there are. And then we want to make it descending by n. Oh no, can we not do that? How does descending work? Oh, it only works on a vector. Oh well. And so now we do a little bit of Googling. Quick bar plot. So you put in the data, you put in which things you want to plot, and you should be good to go. You flip the coordinates, and that should be all. And so we come on up to the top. Right, so we need to put this in a thing. Lemur count. Print your lovely lemur count. So, ggplot. We pass our lemur count into it. Our aesthetics are let's see how it yells at us. It didn't yell at us too bad, it just didn't actually plot it. And we want a chord flip. Oh, we need to tell it how to actually make the bars. That's the thing with ggplot. If you don't tell it to do something, it won't do it. Not clip, flip. Chords. Is what it was, correct? Chord flip. Backwards. Yep, if it won't autocomplete, it's not right. It's lovely-ish. So now we need to sort a data frame by a column. Don't know how to do it, so we ask the internet. Okay. I was hoping there would be a way to do it in line. Arrange. There it is. It had to be there somewhere. Can we do descending of 10? Is that what it wants? It does. Brilliant. So now we'll have the bars sorted. Or not? Excuse me? Huh? What a jerk. Okay. Plot sort by value. Okay, so like let's take this out. Put it back in. So hybrid is next to the end. And it just does nothing. It will never have any impact on your output. So we actually have to literally mutate it. So we need to mutate the names. Well, ain't that weird? Okay, so we run that. Looks good there. Still does nothing here. Because it doesn't matter whether or not this is all one thing. It's really quite odd. Because it didn't reorder plot, because the plot's in alphabetical order. And the levels are still that. It didn't actually mutate it. Because I don't really want to use 4 cats if I can avoid it. Because it looks like it should work, but it's just not doing anything. So what if we did this? That worked. Why doesn't it work here? Oh, it probably needs to have the thing. Oh, I don't know. That's really odd. That this'll work here. also did not work here. Fascinating. Hmm. So it works like this. But it doesn't work in the mutate. Yep, does not work. Is there something else in here I'm missing? Well, 4 cats it is. Okay, now this will complain because... Oh, right. Name doesn't exist. And then it'll complain because it doesn't have that function. Still doesn't do a single thing. take your data, you mutate your factor. Let's double check that it is in fact a factor. It's character right now. Okay, now it's a factor. It is undeniably a factor. We try to reorder said factor by the number, and yet here we are, still with a bunch of factors in the wrong order. This should not be the hard part. Like, we don't even need the unique or the as character because that's what we already got. Yeah, it's coding for you. The thing that should be the easiest is surprisingly the hardest. So they're suggesting just using vanilla reorder. Easy peasy, done. Quarter of a line of code. And now we know, and knowing is half the battle. Okay, and then from there, we've got their common name. And then we've got actually, we shouldn't be doing this by name. We should be doing it by ID. Names are more fun, but less unique. And then we've got a handful of themes we could try. because this is the default gray theme. You've got some nice ticks. You got a little bit of gray for cleanup. You've got the classic black-white, where instead of having the gray with white ticks, you got white with gray ticks. Theme dark seems like overkill. Theme classic, you need the ticks. Theme void. Ugh. No thanks on the theme void. Yeah, it's not really what I'm looking for. Oh, goodness. We get lots of options there. We can do anything we like. Okay, so let's come back in here, pull that up in our side panel. Okay, so let's look into changing our rectangles. Let's make it a nice dark green. R G B. Oh no, can't add chord flip to a ggplot object. Did you forget to add parentheses? You betcha I did. Okay, that did a literal nothing. Do we need to apply the theme earlier? Goodness me, oh my, incomplete expression. ggplot plus... Oh, I forgot to get rid of the last plus. Okay, still nothing. Perhaps those things are not rectangles. Seems unlikely, but what else could it be? Do we see a bars in there? Line, rect, text, title, aspect ratio, a bunch of axis, title, text, ticks, lines, legend, definitely not the legend, panel, border, grid spacing, panel on top, plot, background, title, caption, position, subtitle, caption, tag, margin, strip, background placement, what, facet labels, okay. Yeah. Ooh, scale fill. I saw a thing that said scale. Oh, so you can change the color in the geometry. Change the color in the geometry. Is there anywhere else? Right, so you can use the color. Interesting. Yeah, because you could do it up here. I don't think I can just do minus legend. Ah, there we go. It's interesting. Oh, it didn't like the name blue steel, but that other thing was using blue steel. That was a real nice color. Steel blue. Other way around. So we can set the fill in the plot as well. So color is the border. And so we could do fill that color black. That is not a black color. Like, that is not a black border. Good old-fashioned rainbow color scheme. Only useful never. Like, sure, you get the rainbow all the way around. Adds a little bit of flair. But it's just kind of not useful. Also, why do none of them have titles? Like, they're always... They're always just charts in isolation. I do like this, though. I'm going to borrow this. How do we do that? How do we add text? Okay, so the label is N. And then we'll adjust the various things to see what they do. So right now they are too far off to the side. So that's 0. So negative 1.6 should put it on the inside or up too far. So vertical is not what we need. We need horizontal. In the opposite direction. Wait, what? Okay. Wonder if there are other... Yeah, so we could choose the colors manually. Ah, that could be good. So paired won't work well because we don't have enough. So color brewer for like 27 things. Yeah, let's just do blank brewer, because that should give us the nice blue, blue, and more blue. Oh no! There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blues, and one of them is white. Take me to the palettes section. Where is the palettes section? I want the color names. I want the palette names. This is not helping. Kind of like Viridis. Will it just work if I tell it scale? Ooh, actually, let's check for scale fill other types. Aha! Scale fill Viridis B. Bin scales only support continuous data. Oh no. Okay, so that's a thing. It's hard to read the numbers at the top, but it's a thing. And unfortunately, that means the rainbow is actually better than this one. Because the rainbow is actually readable with the white on all of them. What a world. Yeah, and I don't think gradient would actually work. Yeah, I hate to say it, but our best bet is either a solid color or that rainbow. Uh, excuse me, sir, that is not the color I requested. In what world is that steel blue? Perhaps if I ask for peach, you will give me blue. Nope, it gave me that same exact color. And... Huh? Do you not appreciate getting a fill-colored solid name? Did I insult you in some way? Let's Let's take out the fill. We'll get back to a nice gray color. Yeah, there's just something about putting that there that it's just like, nope. But you put it here and it's fine. So, okay, so fills in the ggplot use the data. Fills in the bars can be constant. We're learning. Every time we break something, we learn something. Okay, so let's go back to our good friend theme. Plot.background. Oh no, it wants element rect. Of course it does. Should probably read the documentation. Yeah, okay. It is what we expect. And then here we want it to fill. Probably go back to that list of our color names. Maybe cadet blue? Light cyan. I think that's what I'm looking for. It's not so bad. But I think that might be better as the panel background. And then have plot background. Be light blue. Yeah, the grid's going to need to be something different, but we'll get to that in a minute. Nope, those are backwards. Much better. Now those grid lines really pop. Now we need to modify the limits because I don't like that extra space to the left. Just like that. Okay. I expected it to be that easy, and it was. I don't know. Okay, so nah. It didn't do it. It doesn't like doing it. I see. So maybe there's a panel margin. And you kill it. Yep, that's how it goes. Nope, I don't see how to get rid of that. So that's not actually what I want. It's gonna be hard to ask for what I want to do. So we're just gonna leave that for now. Font. How do we change the font? Text. Okay. So Mac, what's your favorite font? Gothic Princess. Like, I don't even know which fonts I've got available. Let's try Century Gothic. Oh, we forgot our comma. Font family not found in Windows font database. Yeah, so probably we should just ask for standard Windows fonts. No idea which ones I've got built in. Franklin Gothic Medium. Let's take a look at that one. Not found. Good old-fashioned Helvetica. Okay, could you throw me a bone here? Like, can I not just use its name? See what fonts you have available with the command Windows Fonts. After installing package extra font import took like 5 minutes. You can probably get more. Really? Comic Sans? Well, let's see what we've got. Yep, we've got the standard 3. Let's go extra font. And then we run font import. Library X font. This may take a few minutes, depending on the number of fonts. Continue? Yes. What? Don't skip all my good fonts just because you can't find its name. I have so many good fonts, and you're skipping all of them. Yeah, I love Garamond. Oh, Fortura is good. I use Gil Sans all the time. Gil Sans is my favorite font. But I don't know if I have it on Windows. I typically only use it on Mac. So this is going to take a long time for it to find absolutely nothing. While we check that, our extra font import, no name. It'd be real nice if I were on a Mac. Ugh. Do it for just the fonts I like. Well, that's some sad news. No fun fonts for us. Okay, let's net it, see how the chart looks in the HTML page. So yeah, we would want to quiet a lot of this down. Nice quick intro. Get the unique names. Since it's HTML, we can interact with it, which is much nicer than in PDF format. So we get the common names and the counts. Then plot them. Right, we forgot to get rid of the text part that is totally borked. We can get rid of this part too. Mutation is not necessary. Get rid of text. Try it again. And there we are, a plot that works with colors that are okay and is actually sorted. Okay. And so to recap, what I wanted to do today was just load the data, turn it into something useful, and plot it. I have very, very rarely used Plier. I've very rarely used ggplot. Like, I've used it, but mostly it's just copying the necessary code and applying it to a data set that's already been manipulated in vanilla R ways, not tidy and pipe type ways. I've never used forcats, and it looks like I still haven't because it didn't do what we needed. So we get rid of forcats. Didn't actually use it. Because we would have used it right around here or in here, and we didn't. Just didn't touch it. Does the grid look off? Seems weird to have the lines be right in the center of the bars. I'll take a look once it reknits, but we will see how it looks. So, oh, you mean the grid lines going through the center of these bars? You know, we should probably turn off the vertical or the horizontal grid lines. But it's basically trying to track from the name into the bar. And you want the bar directly in line with the name, and the name is centered on the tick. And so, yeah, maybe we want to get rid of the grid marks in that particular direction. So, axis, ticks. Those are actually Y ticks. Except those are actually panel grid, major and minor Y. Because we still want the ticks. We don't want the grid lines. Does that work? Nope. Must be of type element line. Can we say not? Nah. We say none. No, it's not an R thing. Ah, element blank. That's a good thing to know about. There we go. Yeah, because there's no real alignment worries. So having those grid lines doesn't really do anything for you. It cleans it up a lot. Pretty serious improvement. Okay. So, overall, loaded the data, successfully did the Tidy Tuesday part, managed to use pipes to do a join, used Skimmer for the first time. I like it quite a bit. This is the sort of summary that I always want for things, and hadn't seen one that's so just darn thorough. Like, it even makes a cute little visual histogram for you. Did a little bit of pipe work here. Did a few nice transformations to change our giant data set just down to the small thing we wanted. Yeah, ASCII histogram of all things. What world? And then plotted a reasonable plot of some very basic information. If we do more of these streams, I'm going to want to do more complicated things, but, I mean, we're relatively new to a lot of these things. but we managed to pull out quite a few modifications, and we learned quite a few things about quite a few things, particularly this fill. If you put the fill on the bar, then you can give it a solid color because it has no access to the data. Whereas if you put the fill in the ggplot, then it knows the data coming in, and so it can color things based on your data. In the future, that will be very useful. For this plot, not so much. And I'm mostly doing this for me, but if anybody has, questions, I always love answering questions. Because I did type a lot of things without explaining them, like this arrow tells you to take all of this and put it in lemur count. Such that you don't have to do all of this ever again. All of this takes your data frame, throws it inside of select. Select tells it to pull certain things out of it. Which things? The two things I told it, the common name and the ID number. Take that, and you chuck it into distinct, which eliminates any duplications. So you'll have a bunch of common names, like hybrid or II, with ID numbers. Some of them will be duplicated. Distinct gets rid of the duplicates. Then we group by the common name, such that you'll have just one instance of, say, ring-tailed lemur, and then 225 ID numbers grouped alongside it. And then we count how many common names there are. Like, how many instances are inside of each common name. So we've got 133 cockerel sophakas. And we take that and we pipe it into a thing that sorts it. Because before it was all sorts of wibbly-wobbly, now it's in a nice order. All of that goes in lemur count, such that we can use that down here to make our shiny little plot. And so we take the data, shove it inside of a ggplot. Ggplot's just a nice way of plotting. The GG stands for Grammar of Graphics. And so it tries to separate it out into bits and pieces that you add together. I don't necessarily agree with this particular design style, but it's okay. And so you take your plot, you give it your data, and tell it how to aesthetically interpret said data. And then you tell it how to plot it. So I told it to have bars, put text on the bars, label the x-axis, label the y-axis. You might be a little confused because the x label's on the y-axis and the y label's on the x-axis, and that's because we flipped the coordinates. And then theme just tells it how to look nice. So we told it the fill color for the absolute background, the fill color for the medium background. Up here we set the fill color for each of the bars. Piece by piece by piece, we got ourselves a perfectly ordinary plot. It is by no means anything special. And if you're interested in what other people are doing for Tidy Tuesday, you can just go on to Twitter, hashtag Tidy Tuesday, and you'll see a lot of things that are relatively similar. Because you'll have people doing more or less what I did, but focusing on the weights instead of some of the counts. Because that was the obvious thing that they were trying to do with the data, was the weights. Ridgeline plots are pretty nice. This one's a little hard to read like they tried to make a rainfall type plot. But it squished some of the stuff, so it gets a little hard to read. This one, it's just beautiful and minimalistic. Like, I really want to be able to get the fonts to work such that I can make something that nice. We'll look into that. So this one is a nice tree clustering of... Oh. The size differences between males and females between species. I hadn't seen this one. Oh, genetic diversity. That is tough when you don't have a lot of lemurs. This one has eyes. Ooh. Sunburst, eh? I'm not certain I know how to read sunburst plots. Yeah, eyes. Not to be confused with ayayas. Yeah, without any labels, I'm not certain what these say. Because, like, it's saying family trees. And so you've got this one who is likely... But if you don't have pairings, I don't know how exactly that works. So those are probably meaningful to people who know how they work. This one just looks cool because polar coordinates are fun. Mariah is also a streamer. Hers came out just super, super clean and pretty. So these are density plots for the weights, male versus female, within several of the different varieties, and you can see some of them are pretty well aligned, some of them less so. The difficulty with working with weights of lemurs is females can get pregnant and thus will be temporarily weighing more than they would otherwise. But these are not for analysis, these are just exploration and beautification. And so it's just good to be able to make something lovely. And yeah, Mariah did good work on that one. This one, real hard to read. Yeah, and the question is, do you filter out the pregnancies? Do you incorporate them some way? Do you aim for something a bit different? But yeah, it's real hard to read that family tree. And then that's the previous week. I believe Alyssa's a streamer as well. Might very well be streaming right now. Number of lemurs moved into the center by year. It's an interesting piece of information. Rain cloud plot. Now this one is much easier to see what's going on. The other rain cloud we saw, the the density part got smushed quite a bit. It was hard to see what was really going on. And so this is just showing the same data in 3 different ways. I don't necessarily... Well, I suppose the rain part is for seeing like these outliers out here, being able to interpret this skinny tail of the density plot. The box plot, such so you know that half of it is within these 2 right here. But you still have this pretty decent foot down here at the bottom, right at 0. Hey, stranger. During analyzing lemurs, prior to Tidy Tuesday challenge, noticed that wild-board animals are more happy in terms of life expectancy and weight. Maybe there's a reason. Let's see. See, the peaks are at different sides of the distribution. Peak. Peak. Different variable influencing them. Wild-born lemurs are in general older than ones born in captivity, as one would expect. How do you measure happy in a lemur? Fat and alive. And so, if you stratify by age group, the median weight, not very different. And so you stratify it by age group, and they look more or less the same. So it'd be easy to jump to a invalid conclusion when you see more weight in the wild ones. So you group them together, compare apples to apples. And generally, you don't want to necessarily compare 2 densities like this, because it's hard to know how everything else interacts with it. So this is a very good informational thing. Rock on. Elvira Nasarova, data analyst at Railsware. Rock on. And this is just beautiful. So I kind of want to look at that code just to see yeah, like it's all ggplot. Like that was all done with the same tool we were using. Very little of this is different from what we had. So they had GG text. And so we'll want to look into how GG text gets the work done. GG dist, I'm not sure. Patchwork, show text, and glue. Stringer. Those I am not familiar with at all. And so we'll want to look through this code, learn from it, and apply it in our own work. Being able to to use HTML, that'll probably come in handy. Yeah, those are really nice. Make PDF. Yeah, so they've got a nice template for doing these sorts of things. Oh, my bot has lost communication with me. I don't know why. It hasn't thrown an error. Because my laptop's overheating. Because I had the screen back too far. I will still be able to see what you are saying here in OBS, so don't worry about that. Yeah, this is the part that I don't necessarily know how that works. I've never actually done this sort of thing, because it's probably appending each of the things to one another. Yeah, so you got the title, subtitle. Yeah, so that probably just appends them one to the next. And then you got the big annotation on the top. Yeah, that is quite the thing. I like it a lot. Eric Velcro, hello. How's it going? We are mostly finishing up. We're seeing what other people have done for this week. And some of them are super awesome. Number of offspring per year. That's neat. Yeah, the stream is ending quite soon. I've been up for 2 hours now. We made a very simple plot, but using a bunch of things I had rarely, if ever, used before. So it's a good first step, and we'll learn from what everyone else is doing to be able to do better stuff in the future. K means clustering of taxonomic groupings of lemurs. And apparently it did an okay job, I think. Maybe not. So there are a bunch of squares all over the place, but those are other. Eulemur are pretty well clustered. The ruffed are decently clustered, but the loris, I mean, unless you're grouping the loris with the others, and then you'd have 1, 2, 3 clusters. That could be okay. Here's a good old ridgeline plot. Such you can see the distribution of weights across the different species. This one is potentially problematic because you've got the bimodal stuff happening, because you've got the wild-caught lemurs that are caught older and thus start with more weight. I do like the font, though. The font is quite lovely. We do need to look into how to make one of those ridge lines, because I would like that. Ooh, fancy. So yeah, a lot of people doing a lot of fun things. Mine for this time, if you weren't here to see it, just a very, very simple bar plot demonstrating just how many of each type are available, and hybrid is unsurprising because they're trying to prevent them from going extinct, and so they will go for breeding pairs that are willing and able. They're not going for purity. They're most likely going for genetic diversity, because it's real hard when you've got 17 white-fronted brown lemurs to keep that bloodline pure. So that was a good time. We've learned a bit. We're going to learn more going forward. I'm going to try to keep doing these on Fridays. I'm going to try to do music streams on Mondays. And then Tuesday, Thursday, we'll be playing games with Frog and George. So don't expect any streams over the weekend. There still might be one. Just don't expect it. So I will see you in the next live stream of data science or music or Minecraft or who knows what with light.